What is up, and welcome to another episode of Draft is in Session. We got one of my favorite players in the draft. This guy is not being talked about enough. We had to get him on to hopefully boost that draft stock up to the second or first round. My main man, Terrel Bernard. What is going on, brother?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on.
Dude, we are excited here at LA Football Network to get you on the air. We're going to kind of go into your background football-wise, growing up playing football in Texas, to your journey to Baylor, to now becoming an NFL draft pick. Before we do that, Terrell, I got to go into my sponsor. It's BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info and odds. Find all the latest sports developments, including this week's odds for the Masters Championship and the start of the Major League Baseball coming soon. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so join today. Learn why everyone is saying BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on popular sports and games. BetOnline, where the game starts. Terrell, I am always fascinated on what pushes people to play football to begin with. You grew up in Texas. That area is like the most football crazy area I feel like in the entire country. Do you remember like a specific instance where you saw football or wanted to get involved with it? Was there like a spark or a moment that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, man. I like you said, I grew up in Texas, so sports. Obviously, football is always a huge thing. I just remember watching the NFL, and really the guy that sticks out to me was just always just Ray Lewis, and some of his how he played the game. His motivational speeches he used to give. I think growing up as a 6, 7, 8 year old, in Texas, wanting to play sports and wanting to do, something like that was really my first memory of, what really got me interested in playing football.
Dude, Ray Lewis, one of my all-time favorites. The Dirty Bird walk he does when he comes in. I mean, it's one of the most iconic things in sports right there. So you get into it, young kids, 6, 7, 8. Choosing a high school in Texas is probably the biggest deal when it comes to football, because that means this is where I'm going to go. I want to compete at the highest level. You chose LaPorte High School in Texas. Can you describe to someone, because I'm from California, I have no idea what Friday Night Lights is like in Texas. We've just seen the TV show. How big is high school football in Texas?
Yeah, it's huge, man. So I grew up in a small town, LaPorte. It's right outside of Houston. And football was everything. So I grew up, watching, LaPorte High School football, and always wanted to be a part of that. And then, finally being able to, play there and have the chance to, represent my hometown was, just an awesome experience. Like you said, Texas is just a crazy football town or football state. And then LaPorte specifically is a small knit community that loves its football. So, it was awesome to be a part of that too.
And I've looked you guys up. You guys have a lineage of players that have made to the NFL. You're going to be the latest of that group. Shaun Rogers was among that group, former defensive tackle for the Lions and Arizona Cardinals. So a lot of talent coming out of LaPorte, Texas, man. You're a recruit. You're getting recruited by a lot of different areas. You had some very solid offers to play at a lot of different conferences. Vanderbilt, that's an SEC, school you could have potentially gone to. University of Washington, Colorado, that's Pac-12. But you initially committed to Houston before you went to Baylor. What made Houston stand out to you in the process? And then what ultimately made you switch to Baylor, which had Matt Rule at the time at the helm for the Baylor Bears?
Yeah, so I was able to get some offers coming out of high school. I thought Houston would be a great fit for me. It was super close to home. Like I said, being able to represent my hometown was another opportunity to basically do that. And I was committed to Coach Herman, and they were winning a lot of games, doing a lot of things there that was really intriguing. So whenever Coach Herman left and he ended up going to Texas, I decommitted to kind of weigh my options. And right around that time was pretty much the same time that Coach Roy had just gotten to Baylor. So he got there. I took an official visit. Loved the school, loved the atmosphere, loved all the people that were coming in with Coach Rule. And I figured that would be a great shot for me to stay in the state of Texas, play some big time college football, get a degree from one of the best colleges in the country.
Man, I love it. And Matt Rule has that magic quality that has elevated him to becoming an NFL coach. Only 30, plus of those dudes in the league. But when you got there, man, you're there 2017. I believe that's the year you redshirted. You guys went 1-11. Not a great start to your Baylor career, but by year 3, you guys are playing in the Sugar Bowl. 2019 Matt Rule. What was the turnaround there? Because that is one of the better turnarounds I can remember in college football. And we're going to get to your next coach in a second, who did exactly the same thing with you guys. What was the magic recipe, so to speak, with Matt Rule to get you guys, playing at a high level by the time he left?
Yeah, I think, really just everybody buying into the process. He came in and told us it was going to be a long, hard road. And, as long as we stuck to it and did what we were asked to do every day, we would see the light at the end of the tunnel eventually. And, that's pretty much what happened. We came in and, we had a rough start at it for sure. But I think as, some of the younger guys got older and, we're playing a little bit more and we're more experienced, we were able to win some games and, do some pretty cool things leading up to that 2019 season.
Man, pretty cool is an understatement. So Rule leaves. You still got 2 years of eligibility left. This new guy, Dave Aranda, comes in and, 2-7 in the first year. You're like, man, I got to go through this again. I got one more year left. I'm not trying to lose. And you, a part of this big group that's coming out for Baylor, we're going to get to your safeties a little later in this pod. But, dude, you guys went from 2-7 to an 11-win year. You guys win the Big 12 championship, and then you beat Ole Miss in the freaking bowl game. Talk about that, too. Was that just another buying into the process? But to go from 2 to 11 wins in 1 year, that is as sizable as a jump as you can make at the college football level, man.
Yeah, man, it was, again, it was tough. The 2020 season, that was the COVID year. So, new coach, installing everything over Zoom. We didn't have spring ball. We didn't have a lot of things that, you typically have going into a season. So it was very different. After the 2019 season, we lost a lot of starters, a lot of guys that had played a lot of football for us. So, we were a young team coming in and, ended up losing a lot of close games and really just, took our lick that year. And, we had a big sit down talk at the end of the season. Pretty much everybody wanted to come back. Everybody wanted to do this thing right before we left. And, I think just like I said, the experience, we had another group of leaders coming in, another group of guys that, knew what it took to win before. And, we were willing to do whatever it took, to do that again. So I think it was a pretty cool moment for us.
I'm biased, but I'm looking at your guys' tape. You are outstanding at the linebacker position, my man. But the guys behind you, you got to feel pretty confident. I think you had probably the 2 best safeties in college football last year behind you, and Jalen Petrie and JT Woods. Let's start with Petrie. What was he like as a teammate, and what do you project for him in the NFL moving forward?
Yeah, so Jalen's like my best friend. We were roommates in college for the past 3 years. Did everything together. So, I'm super happy for him. Once you turn on the tape, I think he's probably the first guy that you see flying around, making all types of plays, doing everything from, fitting in the run game, blowing up tight ends, TFLs, getting picks, getting sacks, things like that. Just ultra productive, ultra competitive, and probably the smartest player in the draft. I couldn't say enough good things about him, from his journey from when he got there to, how he ended up and what he ended up doing. It can't be understated, his work ethic and, just the type of person he is. And then, the same thing for JT. JT was an early enrollee in 2018, coming to Baylor after our 1-11 season. So he's been through, everything that we talked about earlier. One of the key pieces in, this year's defense, last year's defense, holding things together. He's playing the free safety spot, so he's roaming around a lot, in the post, coming down a little bit. Incredible range. He's a big physical dude. And, you saw him run 4.3 at the combine, so, he's super fast, ball hawking type guy. I think he had 6 picks this year. So, like you said, two of the best guys to play behind me. So, I was able to be pretty free and do pretty much, what I wanted to do with those guys behind me.
Man, we are so stoked to see those guys at the next level, making an impact, just like yourself, my man. NFL draft, it's coming up. I'm very interested in the training process because I can only put myself into your guys' shoes from afar. I'm not an athlete. I just have kind of made the, impact to do sports because it's like what I love to do. And I love talking to people like yourself. Give me like what the process is like. Where did you train this year? What is the hardest and easiest thing, about the training process? Try to get to your next job in the league.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like you said, I didn't really know. I mean, I didn't know anything about what went into, draft or pre-draft prep, combine prep, all that stuff. So literally, we played the Sugar Bowl January 1st. I moved in and to my apartment on January 2nd in Frisco. So I ended up training at Exos up there in Frisco with Brent Callaway and his staff, and they were awesome. But yeah, man. So you get there. Like I said, it was literally 2 days after we just finished the Sugar Bowl, and I started my training. So you're working out. You got a bunch of things you have to do. So getting ready for the Senior Bowl. You have, I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks of training, basically getting ready for that. So then you move from Frisco up to Mobile for a week. So I'm staying there. Um, Going through the Senior Bowl, it's a pretty extensive process there as well, but a good experience. So after your week at the Senior Bowl, you move back to Frisco, do all of your training, 40 training, all your combine prep, all that stuff, and then you end up going to Indianapolis and going to the combine up there for, I think we were there for about 4 days. Um, so you stay up there and then move back to Frisco again. And then you're there for 4 more weeks training, doing everything, getting ready for pro day. So then you move to Waco again, go back for your pro day, and you're there for another week or so. So it's been living out of suitcases and traveling a lot, doing a lot of different things. But I had a great support system with the EXO staff that they're really flexible with us and helped us do a lot of things. So I couldn't be more thankful for all of them.
Love it, man. Were you able to room with Jalen at the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, we roomed together there, so it was cool.
Very natural transition there, having room together before. So that's awesome. Senior Bowl, like what the practices look really competitive. We were actually supposed to be down there this year. Unfortunately, we're not able to make it. What is the type of environment there? Because it's an all-star game, but you guys are also being super competitive just because you guys are trying to show what you can, to the scouts at the next level. So what is that like?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to practice because I had pulled my hamstring right before I got up there. But I mean, just looking at it, it looked super competitive. You got, I don't even know, 100 guys, something like that there. That's fighting basically to show off their talents against the other best players in the country. So like you said, I mean, it's an all-star game, but those practices are filled with scouts and GMs and head coaches, basically watching you to see how you compete against other people. So I mean, like you said, it's very competitive. Um, After the practices, you're in meetings pretty much for the rest of the day with your staff, and then you meet with all the teams while you're up there as well. So it's pretty packed. You're doing a lot of things, but it's definitely a fun experience.
Love it, man. And then for the combine, I'm always interested about this. To you, what was the most difficult drill to prepare for? Because it's a kind of a gauntlet of different things.
Yeah.
And I'm always just intrigued to see, like, for an athlete like yourself, what is the most difficult thing for a linebacker, doing the drills?
Um, Yeah, I would say probably just the spatial change of direction things, because you're moving off of a coach doing it instead of natural instinct when you're in a game or in practice. So basically reacting and that type of thing. But I mean, besides that, I mean, it's back to basic football. I mean, the testing stuff is more complicated because you're not really doing some of those things as much, like running a 40. I hadn't done that since I was like a sophomore in high school. So getting in a stance and getting comfortable in that, and preparing for that was a little bit more stressful than the actual football stuff.
Sure. And to me, like, that's the most overrated thing, in sports. 40-yard dash. Like, at the end of the day, you can either play football or you can't. Like, that's the way I look at it. So I think it's incredibly overrated. You don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but have you been meeting with, different NFL teams throughout the process?
Yeah, I've met with a lot of teams. I've met with the Bills, met with the Eagles, the Bucks. I mean, it's pretty much almost, I would say, pretty much about half the teams. Through Zoom meetings, as well as, you meet with everybody pretty much at the Senior Bowl, and then as well at the Combine. You have a scheduled set of meetings. So I met with the Giants at the Combine too. So I mean, it's a pretty extensive list. I mean, you kind of meet with pretty much everybody, and then as you get closer to the draft, the teams that really are more interested in you will meet with you a little bit more and talk to you a little bit more.
I love it, man. We are super excited for you. We hope to get you in LA for that matter with either the Chargers or the Rams, because we could see you in person a lot closer. This is kind of the speed round, man. We just like to have fun here. We don't like to make this too, crazy for you. This is the Bet Online speed round for the LA Football Network draft is in session. Are you ready, my man?
Let's do it.
Favorite musical artist?
Drake.
Drake. Okay, that's one of my top three. Well, I mean, how can you not listen to Drake? Even his like non-hits are just bangers, bro. So I'm such a fan. Favorite food?
Man, I'd probably say Mexican food. From the South, from Texas. So yeah, I think that's it.
You guys get that Tex-Mex out there too, man. That's a problem. That is some good stuff right there. Favorite vacation spot?
I'd probably say Jamaica. I went on a cruise and ended up in there, stopping at Jamaica and stayed there for a day, and it was beautiful. So hopefully get to go back sometime.
Bro, I'm jealous. I've never been. That is on the list. Favorite player to model your game after?
I'd probably say Levante David. I think just how he handles himself in the box, and how he kind of makes plays. I like watching him.
Dude, he's a monster. I love Levante David. And like him, too, you're very good in the pass game, too, which I think, run defense is a big part of the linebacker playing downhill. But in today's game, you got to be able to do the pass. And you do that exceptionally well. Last question I got for you. Favorite memory at Baylor playing for the Bears?
Yeah, I would say definitely winning the Big 12 championship this year. Kind of just bring together all the work that you put in the last 5 years into one moment. And, kind of just sitting back and being able to reflect on that, and, something that we'll always have to look forward to.
Awesome, man. Well, Terrel Bernard, thank you so much for coming on, my man. We are stoked for your future, and, man, let's stay in touch.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.